What's up guys, it's Mitsofting. Today I'm going to talk about Outriders and how the endgame needs to change before it's too late. These are just some ideas that I have, some thoughts that I have, and most importantly, they are opinions. So if you disagree, that's fine. I'm just going to share my thoughts of how this game kind of needs to be reworked for the endgame to be more diverse in the builds, allow players to play how they want, and just have more fun. And in the end, I think the result would be more players sticking around for the end game. I think in its current state, we're going to lose a lot of new players who come in and realize when they get to the end game, the only thing they can do is time trials. I think we're going to lose a lot of people who have been playing since the beginning because they're going to get tired of doing the time trials and the expeditions over and over again. So these are just some of my thoughts of how this all needs to be reworked, and I'm going to share it while there's just some of my gameplay playing in the background where you can see that I'm a DPS character, which is obviously required for the current state of the game. First of all, as I just stated, expeditions require DPS only and no other builds are viable. This is the biggest problem with the game currently. What is causing this issue is enemies are massive bullet sponges, but most importantly, expeditions are on timers. Expeditions being on timers mean the entire point of the expedition is to kill enemies as fast as possible. The only way to kill enemies as fast as possible is to have outrageous DPS. That is fine and dandy if everyone could have high DPS and play the game how they want, but the way characters are set up, you can only really do one thing at a time. Can you have high DPS and really high armor or health and be a tank? Yes, but your DPS isn't going to be nearly as high as a purely DPS focused character. This is the issue. People want to play as a tank. People want to play as a support character. People want to play different ways. They want to play the game how they want to play. They want to create a team composition with their two teammates so that they can run through and work together and take down the bosses and the big enemies. That's what's fun about these types of games. Not everyone picking the same assault rifle with high DPS and just trying to one burst the alphas before they jump on their face and maul them to death. Let's rework expeditions so that they do not revolve around time to get the best loot. This would make non-DPS builds viable in the endgame, which is what we all want to use. Specifically for me, as you can see in these clips behind me, I'm a Technomancer. This is my second class, which I made after getting a Devastator all the way to level 30 and trying to power through the expeditions. I was having so much trouble on the expeditions that I ended up making a Technomancer and entirely reworking the way I play because I wanted DPS, and it's easier to do it with a Techno than it is with a Devastator. The reason I picked Devastator as soon as the game came out is because in every game I ever play that's class-based, I want to be a tank. I love being a tank class. I love my friends to be able to crush everything while I walk right in the middle of all the enemies, take all the hits, block damage for them, and buff them as best I can. That's just how I like to play these games. But guess what? It's useless in this because I can't run through expeditions fast enough to get gold if my character is purely focused on armor, health restoration, etc. It has to be focused on DPS, and Devastators just aren't built good enough for that right now. So that's why I switched to Technomancer, and I'm playing the game a way that I don't want to play. Now that's not to say that Technomancer isn't fun and I don't enjoy just one-tapping small enemies in the head and crushing captains as best I can. I do enjoy doing that, but let's just say I would rather play the game how I want to play it. You could have something like a Technomancer support role. Technomancer has a healing ability. That's completely unused because that doesn't provide DPS. These are just examples that I'm using to show you how the different builds could diversify and make the game more fun. An idea I have personally for reworking the expeditions as opposed to making it a time trial would be to keep them how they are with loot being based on gold, silver, and bronze, but make gold, silver, or bronze based on how many times your team gets downed instead of time. This would mean something along the lines of, did your team survive and never get downed or only get downed once? You get gold loot. Did your team survive and get downed a total of 3 times or less? You get silver loot, and then more than 3 times would be bronze. If you all die, you get no reward or very little reward like you do currently if your whole team dies. This is just one idea I had, that it would be based on deaths, which would then obviously it would reward players to play as a tank or a support character along with their friend who's playing as a DPS character. It would force everyone to work together. Imagine a Technomancer build who can instantly heal all their teammates, being able to save the day during a final boss fight and healing the DPS player who's unloading on the boss, or a Devastator who can eat enough bullets to fill an armory, blocking enough damage to save the day in the same vein. The builds and options for team composition and playstyle from player to player between skill nodes and armor and weapon mods would be endless. There's so many different ways to approach each fight and play the game. Currently, there's only one option to run the expedition, so there's no build diversity whatsoever, which is exactly what we want. It's more fun, it's more interesting, and best of all, since there's no limit on how many times you can respec your class, you can just change it up on the fly. Why would you want to stick to one? Your teammate with massive DPS output who plays as a pyro just got online. Well, time to change your DPS build over to your tank build so that you can play with them and play together as best as possible and optimize your team builds. Currently, we can't do any of this because that's not how the game works. So it's going to make people quit the game sooner than later, and I don't want this game to die. I already have 100 hours into it. I obviously love it, and I think it's amazing at its core. It has a lot of potential, but if we don't get build diversity in the end game especially, it doesn't come as soon as possible, we're going to lose a lot of the player base, and a lot of new players who come into the game are not going to stick around for end game once they realize that's what it is and that they can't play it how they want. If I just found out about this game right now and all I wanted to do is play as a tank, and I talked to someone with the experience that I have and I said, yeah, tanks really aren't viable for endgame, I probably wouldn't buy the game. Or if I did, I would quit very quickly because it would make me so sad that I can't play the game I want to play. So basically, the point of this is rework the expedition to not be based around time, allow us to have the build diversity that we want to have, and it's going to optimize the gameplay, optimize the team composition, and let us all have as much fun as we want to playing the game that we love. So that's my message for People Can Fly, Square Enix, and anyone else who wants to listen. Let me know in the comments if you agree with what I said, or if you have your ideas of what the expeditions could be reworked to be, because I'd love to hear any good ideas besides the one that I have about it being based on downs. Please let me know in the comments. Please like the video if you enjoyed this. I am putting Outriders content out on YouTube every single day, as well as streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/midsofting. I hope you have the best day of your life. I'll see you later.